Hi, welcome to this short tutorial on poster design using Microsoft Word as part of the Church Toolkit series. We probably all know to get the best results for print and design, we should use a graphic designer or specialist design software. However, you may not have the budget for that, so if you just want to create a lot of flyers and posters using software that you probably already have, then this tutorial is for you. Some top tips in no particular order. For posters and flyers, use the what, where, why, when and how checklist. What is it that you're advertising or promoting? Where is it? Why should people come or be interested? When is it? And how would you like people to respond? What is your call to action? Would you like people to visit a website or sign up to something? Use good quality, high resolution images that represent what you're trying to convey. Try to use faces as we're drawn to them first. There is some information on where to get good images on our accompanying teaching materials. Never squash or stretch images. Use as little text as possible and make it as big, bold and contrasting as possible, emphasizing the most important text. Use a maximum of 2 font styles as a rule. Always include a call to action. What do you want people to do? Direct people to a website for further information. Use brand colours, fonts and logos if you have them, in order to create a clear identity. Don't be frightened of white space, so your poster is not too cluttered. More information about all these areas is available on our Get Your Church Noticed toolkit. I'm now going to do a practical demonstration of poster design using Windows 10 and Word 2016. Okay, so this is the poster that we'll actually be designing. I'll just take you around the features of it. So you can see that it has the features that we described earlier, which is what, where, why, when and how. So what's the event, and this is just an event I've basically made up out of my head. Seek the welfare of the city. And where is it? It's at St. Peter's Church, Thiston. And why are we doing it? It's obviously a talk and a biblical perspective on social care, so it's pretty clear to most people what that's about. Although when you do click on the link to the website, it'll give you a lot more information. But you can't put loads of information on a poster, so the why might be a little bit lacking in detail. But the when is obvious, the date and obviously the time, and how do you want them to respond, and that's clearly stated at the bottom. Book now with the website. So when you take it there, there'll probably be like an Eventbrite booking form, that sort of thing, and some more information. And there are faces on there. There are good quality images. There's a white border as well, which that is a bit unusual in posters normally when you're designing them, but I'm making the assumption that you're going to be doing it on a printer, and so the white border is necessary. Otherwise, if you take the images right to the edge, then you'll lose those when you print them. The text is big, bold and contrasting. There are complementary colours that are tying in with the brand of the church. St. Peter's Church has its own logo and little symbol there with colours, and we've taken that colour and used it for the text in this box. And it's generally not too cluttered. There's quite a bit of information on there, but only the essential information. There's areas of white space which help people to not to feel like you're trying to get too much information across. What I am going to do for the purposes of this demonstration is just go through a few things that you might find helpful. So creating a border and how to get that white space all the way around, setting margins, inserting a shape or an image, and then wrapping the text around it, moving and copying shapes and images, aligning shapes and images, and sending images to the back and front and layering things over the top of each other. How to crop an image, adding text using a text box, and aligning text, making text transparent, or at least somewhat transparent, so there's a level of opacity that you can see through the text. Creating images inside shapes, which is how we've done the images of the speakers in a circle, and just colouring text, and how to give text the same colour as your logo or a set of colours that you've been given or designed yourself. Okay, so looking at the page, I'm just going to show you how to create that border around the poster, so that when you do print it, as I said, you're not going to get problems with the edges not printing. So you just keep everything in there, then you know what's going to print and what's not going to print on your printer. So just to create a page border, you go to Design and Page Borders, and you'll just see a box like this, and if you click Box, if you put it on black for now, you can always change it to white so that in effect should disappear, but at least if it's black you can see it. Then go to Options here, and it's currently set on 24 points, which is about right, I would say, for most printers. And then just click OK and OK. Now you can see that gives you a border, an equal border all the way around. And probably you'll find it easier if you reduce the margins to the border. So if you click on this area above here, the grey area, you'll see your mouse pointer change to like a double-headed arrow, and you can slide that along to match up with your border, and that means everything's in line. And likewise on the other side, you can do the same there, and it lines up with your border. So that's setting your margins to the same as your border, which you'll probably find helpful later. Okay, so the first thing we can do is insert an image. Good place to start. So where you go with that is click Insert, and then Picture, and in this case we can say this device. I'm not going to put the actual image we're going to use, just for one reason, I'll copy and paste that in just because it's ready somewhere else. But if we were putting one from the directory in, then here's an image we can insert. And what you'll find when you first put an image in, usually you can't move it around and place it where you want to. And the best way to do that is go up to this menu up at the top, and you'll notice that when you do drop an image in, that you get this picture format in the menu, and you can then use the tools that the picture format menu list gives you. So we can go to Wrap Text, then In Front of Text, and this changes the behavior of the way an image works around text or on a page in Word. So I can now move that around anywhere, and if I wanted to crop it, if I wanted to focus in on a particular part or make it a different shape or proportion, I can use the crop tool here. So you click on crop, you get black markers, and if I wanted to make it narrower, then you could just do that, and then you can move the image around within the crop window itself. So let's say we wanted like that, and you click off the image, and then if you hold Shift down on your keyboard, that retains the proportion of the image while you move it. If you don't do that, what will happen is, I said earlier, try not to stretch or shrink or squash your image, because it just makes the image look strange. So to avoid that, I'll just undo that. You hold the Shift key down and use your corner point there to retain the proportion. So let's say that's ready and you want it over the other side, you can just drag it over and drop it in there. There are other tools on here in terms of alignment, but we can show you that later. So what I'll do now is get rid of this, because that's not the image we're going to use on the poster, thankfully. And then I'll just drop in the actual image that we're going to use, which is already prepared, but using the same techniques I've just shown. It's a little bit different, so we need to change the size of it. So I'm just moving this around. It's already on the right setting in terms of the wrap text option, so it's in front of text already. I just want to move it. The best way to move it in small margins is to just use the arrows on your keyboard. So I'm using that now to move it into exactly where I want it to go. Then I'm using the Shift key and the corner arrow to pull out the image just to make it the right size for the border. So there we have the image in place, and we can start to layer text and other things on it. At this point we can put the text on, as I say. So what we'll use in this on a poster is text boxes. So if we insert a shape and choose text box, then I find the best way is to put the text box right across if you want it to be centralized. Put it right across like that. Then you want to get rid of the border and the background. So if you don't see it there, the best thing to do is to double click on there. But you can see shape fill and shape outline. Just click on no fill and no outline, unless you want one, of course, and you might use that as a maybe to change the opacity. In this case, we're not going to have any background. So if you just click inside the box, it'll look horrible for the start of this process. But the other thing I would say is probably, in this case, put the text in individual boxes on different lines, so that you can maneuver the text around in relation to the other box. I'll show you that as I go. So I'm using the font Poppins Black, just because it's a nice big bold font, and then I'm going up to size 50 and centralize. I'm centralizing that and going to 50, and then making the box big enough so you can see it. And then you can move that around. You know it's central. I'm also getting these green lines. You can see those green lines, which just mean it's central to the page. So that's there. And what I've done is I've actually lined it up on the horizon of this image, just for a good place to line it up. And then what I'm going to do now is just copy this. So I'm going to hold Control down. It's another little keyboard trick. But if you hold Control down, you'll see that plus sign, the mouse on the mouse there just changes to a plus. You're moving it down like that. So I've got two of those, but I'm obviously going to change the text to "of the city." And then I'm going to change that to white. So just for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm just going to show you how to make some of the text slightly transparent. So in this particular case, you'll be able to see the cityscape through, a little bit of the cityscape through the text, and that can add a little bit of a design feature. So if you highlight the text, go to Font and click on the little arrow there. You get a few options, but I'm looking for this particular thing here, which is Text Effects, Text Fill, and that gives you transparency. So let's move it to 25% and see how that looks. That goes to there, click OK and OK again. And you can see that I'm still got the text highlighted, but when you click off, you see that you can just see, it doesn't mean that the text disappears altogether, which is good, and you can still read it, but you can see a little bit of the image behind it, and you may not want that in this particular case. You might want the text to really stand out, but that shows you how to make that transparent. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, shouldn't take too long to drop in the rest of these elements, but I'll show you some of the other technical things that we'll be doing, but some of them are not so technical, so I'm just going to copy and paste this piece of text in that just drops in below that. Obviously we want to center it up, and I'm just making sure that that's roughly central between the bottom of the text and the bottom of the image. And then I'm just going to use my arrows on the keyboard to move these around a little more. So that's that. Then we want to do this little tab at the bottom, so we'll do that by inserting a shape, and we'll go with a square. And the way we do that is by holding down the shift key when we're creating the shape, and then that sits there. Again, we'll use our key pad to move it around. You can use Control to zoom in, which I'm doing there, just to see, make sure we can see exactly where the line is. A little bit more. I'm going to get rid of if you double click on something, it generally brings up the right menu at the top, which I've just done. And I'm going to go for black, get rid of the outline, no outline, just see if that looks about right, just slightly wrong on there because it's not quite lined up. And we can zoom back out so you can see everything we're doing. Then we'll just drop some text in that we had before and a little line underneath behind, so we'll get rid of that. You can move that there, and the little line, it's not too difficult to do that, but it's insert a shape again and use the line tool. Again, if you hold down shift, it creates a straight line rather than a line at an angle, and you only get the shape outline option there, and you can change the color to white and make it a little bit thicker. So we're going to go for something like that, and then just use the keyboard arrows to line it up. Moving everything up to centralize it. Right, so that's that. Then we're going to do the little images of the speakers now. So first thing to do is put a bit of text in to there. We'll move that around when we need to. So how to drop an image into a shape. So first of all, obviously you need a shape, and in this case we're going to use a circle, and we will create a circle by holding down shift on the circle shape. Otherwise you get like an oval, and you don't know whether that's a real circle or not. So if you hold down shift, you definitely get a circle, and we want them about that size, and we want two of them. So I'm holding down Control and Shift. Shift keeps it in line, Control copies it. So that's what I'm doing there. Then if you right click that, you get a fill option, and if you then click picture and then go from file, we've got the images of the speakers just already in this place, but if you haven't, then obviously you just have to find it somewhere in your directory on your computer. The first one, or what I would say, if you put in a circle, you need square images, otherwise this tool shrinks or expands the image that you're putting in, which you don't want. So if it's square inside a perfect circle, then it'll work. And there you have it. And what we don't want is an outline, so I'm going to outline, no outline, And I'm going to do the same for that one. And then right click again, fill, picture from a file, and then drop in our second speaker. And then again, because it's not very technical, I'm just going to drop some bits of text in, which we've shown you how to do that. But what I do want to do is align them. So I want that centralized with that. So if you select them both, and then you want the align tool, so you go to the shape format shape here, align, and then align center, and that just aligns the text and the obviously you have to have your text justified centrally inside the box, otherwise it won't line up exactly. But that one again, align center, and then we select everything together and just move it all around. So what you do with that is hold down your shift key to select multiple objects, and then we can move that in line with the border. What we want is the edge of that circle to be in line, so exactly there. And obviously this is well out, so make that a bit smaller, and you can see the center of that lines up roughly with the center of between the two images there. I'm just doing that by eye, and in some cases that's perfectly acceptable. Then we're going to drop in the date and time text. Again, nothing very technical other than lining it up and making it look roughly in the right place. So if you just take it up to there, you can get it absolutely lined up, and then drop it into the right place there. Then the logo and the address. Because this is on a white background and the logo has a white background also, you don't notice that it's could be a problem. If I then put it over something like that, you may think, well, that doesn't look great. So you'd have to create or have somebody create a logo with a transparent background. But in this case, it's fine because it's a white background. And I'm just going to line that up again with the border or the margin to the left, and that's about right there. And this likewise, I mean, it's already roughly in the right place. So the final thing that we are going to do on this poster is just to add the little section at the bottom, and for this we're going to show you how to match colors also. This is the shape that holds the website address. So we're going to insert a rounded corner rectangle there, put it roughly across the bottom, and we can line it up. And you can see there the border, which I've changed to white, is just encroaching over it, so we're going to make that the right width and move it up slightly so it's not wrong at the bottom. And that's it. And then we just need to get that right and change the color, and we're going to choose this color, or the same color as the logo. So what we can do there is double click on it and we get the shape fill, and that's where we can change the color. And we can go to more fill colors, and what you see here is either an RGB or a hexadecimal. So RGB is red, green, blue. Hexadecimal is just another way of defining a very specific color, and these colors can be defined by perhaps a graphic designer that's done your logo, or by yourself if you've created your own identity brand colors for your church. And in this particular case, I've just copied the hexadecimal value for the colour that represents the same colour of the logo. Just drop that in, and you'll see it change there. It says 880202. That's, as I say, just a way of defining the exact colour. When I press OK, it changes to the right colour. I don't want an outline on it, so let's get rid of the outline. I'm then just going to paste in the text and drop the text into there. There it is. And then we just need to line it up with the box at the bottom. And use the arrows to line it up there. It's a little bit smaller than my original, so the box behind it, so I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger, move that down, select it, make it bigger, and then move the text back up. If just one more thing before we finish, that's the poster done, but one more thing before we finish, I just thought I'd show you it in case if you go to shape format, in case this is necessary, sometimes things go behind the other, and I said I would show you how to layer different objects or text over the top of each other, and that's just another tool on the shape format, and that is bring forward or send backward or send to back. So if that was behind that, then what you could do is just select that and then shape format and send that one to the back, and then the other one will appear over the top of it. So that's the poster done. I hope that's been useful. Obviously you may want to do very different style of posters, very different style of flyers and that sort of thing, but hopefully a lot of the tools that we've shown you there are going to be really helpful in doing anything that you like. Okay.